All right, everybody. This is the Triangle Tennis Podcast with your hosts, Matt and Zach. Happy to be back. We are doing something a little slightly different. We recently went to the Winston-Salem Open, and we were going to talk about that experience, the drive up, the tournament, tips for those kinds of tournaments, some of the tennis that was played, some of the people that you might find wandering around Winston-Salem. You never know who you're going to run into.
Oh, yeah.
And take it away, Zach.
A lot of people call the Winston-Salem Open the premier 250 tournament in the world. Certainly, I would agree with that assessment. Matt, I don't want to speak on your behalf, but maybe you would as well. It's the best 250 I've ever been to, and it's easy and convenient to get to. The ticket prices are pretty darn reasonable. It's a great tournament. The week that it is, which is the week immediately before the U.S. Open, is a challenge because you typically don't get a lot of top 20 players there, because if you make a deep run in Winston, then you get to New York late. If you get to New York late, you get less time on the courts there, and then you're less likely to do well at a major. So you're really in the sweet spot of players between, say, 20 and 60 in the world in the main draw. You get a couple of local players who are trying to make it on the tour, the Strong Hersheimers, the Tyson Kwiatkowski, and it just overall is a great event. Matt, let's start with, how do we get there? How do we get to Winston-Salem in the first? Do we teleport?
Let's take a step back. We can't teleport yet. I've heard that's on the horizon.
You ever take an edible on an airplane? That's pretty close.
I guess so. I guess that's the same thing.
So they say.
Oh, I have a lot of plane trips coming up. That never crossed my mind.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good idea.
Right before you go through security.
Yeah.
Many people are saying could enhance your flight experience. Yeah.
That sounds like a great time. Okay. Anyways, I did want to. I think there is at least one viewer that may not know how the circuit works with 250s, and that's my wife.
Okay.
I know she listens to every episode while she's walking dogs. Well, so there might be another viewer who might not know.
Let's walk it through. So at the top level, you've got the majors. They're worth, I think it's 2,000 points, but they're a lot.
Okay.
Then that's if you win. That's how many points you get. Sure. These points, and they do both a rolling average, which is what they use for your ranking, and they do a year total, which is for the year-end tournament and bonuses and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Below the majors, then there's 4 majors. Those are the only ones that are 5 sets. Below the majors, you get the Masters 1000s. The winner gets 1,000 points. That's the next kind of tier. There's 10 or 11 of those, I believe. Those are typically major caliber draws, but they're only best of 3 sets.
What's an example? What kind of turn? Like Cincinnati? Is that level?
Cincinnati is a 1,000. Montreal is 1,000. The Pro Tour has actually changed the format recently. Some of them, the bulk of them, used to be 1 week long tournaments. Now they are going to be over the course of 10 days or 2 weeks, so they're a little bit longer than they used to be.
Okay.
A little less action, but a little easier in the players' bodies.
Yeah.
Below the 1,000s, you've got the 500s. Sometimes those attract the top players, but it's not going to have a major caliber draw, typically. You'll get like a couple of top 10 guys, but you're not going to get typically 10 out of 10, right? Whereas in a major, everyone who's able to play is playing, right? Below that, the lowest level of ATP tournament, and this is just above the Challengers Tour, which is then above the Futures Tour, is the 250. The winner gets 250 points. That's a meaningful amount, especially for those folks that are trying to break into the top 100 or kind of stay or get to the top 30. Casper Ruud is a player who is famous for just racking up 250 wins. And so there is in tennis, unlike a lot of other pro sports, there's a little bit of strategy in picking which tournaments you play in, because if you play a 250 and win against players that you can beat pretty comfortably, are you better off doing that or taking your chances in a 500, which is going to have a tougher draw, right?
Yeah.
And so the Winston-Salem is a 250. I want to read off some of the past winners of this.
Okay.
John Isner. That's a name that a lot of us know.
I actually know that one.
There we go. Tall guy.
Yeah.
Jürgen Melzer.
Nope.
Okay. Daniel Nestor and Leander Paez.
Nope.
Okay. We got Kevin Anderson.
I probably know a Kevin Anderson, because that seems like a very common name, but I probably don't know that Kevin Anderson.
I remember a kid in college getting kicked out of a fraternity party named Kevin Anderson, but I think that was a different guy.
Yeah.
Common name. Dominic Inglot and Robert Lindstedt, former doubles champions. I just mostly want to say Dominic Inglot, which is a great name.
A good name.
Pablo Carreno Busta, Roberto Batista Agut. Here's a name that you might know. Daniel Medvedev.
Oh, I do know that one.
The number 1 Polish male player, Hubert Hurkacz.
Oh.
Adrian Manarino, Seb Baez, and then this year, we'll get to the winner later, but there are some familiar names Famously, Carlos Alcaraz made an appearance at this tournament in 2021 and promptly got his ass kicked because he was still like 17 and scrawny. We saw a youngster that might be the next Alcaraz, by the way.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
I think I'm underselling it. Yeah.
No, you're not underselling it.
I'm not underselling it? Okay, just want to make sure. But before we get to the tennis itself, anything else, Matt, we want to get into and like setting the stage for what a 250 is exactly?
No, I think we're good. We can move on to getting there.
Okay. It's an easy drive. I always forget how close Winston-Salem is to the Triangle.
It is.
What was it? Hour and a half? Tops?
Hour and a half, yeah.
Easy straight shot.
Yep. Yeah, it is a straight shot. What did we take? 4 or 5 turns, and that was about it.
That being said, when you arrive in Winston-Salem, it's really clear that the city planner back in the day was awful at their job. Yep. We went on one of the dumbest whirligig.
It was a figure 8. Yeah. That's actually not an exaggeration. I looked at the map and I was like, Zach, because I'm notorious for missing turns. And I go, I'm so sorry, Zach. I must have missed a turn. And Zach was like, no, that's just the roads.
I was looking at the GPS and I was like, has the AI turned on us? Is it messing? Is it messing with us? Is it trying to crash this car? No, it just really was a stupid, terrible layout. Shout out to whoever the urban planner was there. You suck. We try to promote positivity on this podcast, except for this urban planner in Winston-Salem. 2 thumbs down to whoever that was.
Oh, that was terrible. And then we got to the parking lot, and that was a bit of a mess, trying to figure out how to get in there. We had to go all the way. We had to do a whole nother lap to get into the parking lot to park.
Yeah, so here's the thing. The U.S. Open just shattered day one attendance records, right? Something like 70,000 people. Yeah. You were going to have a not 70,000 person crowd in Winston-Salem. It's hundreds, low thousands, I think, especially the day that we went, which was the first round or the second round, but the first round where seeded players played. So I think low thousands.
Not when we went.
There were 2 sessions.
Total attendance? Yeah. Maybe 1,000.
I think a couple thousand.
I don't know.
Such a negative Nelly. At least 40,000 people were there.
But it's good. But that's the thing about this tournament. So I'm going to turn that on you. The thing about this tournament is it's not super busy. So like every time we wanted to watch a match, we could get literally within touching. Like I could touch them.
Yeah,
so
it is pretty crazy.
Super cool things, and that's why it's great because it's not super busy, and you get on the best day to go are the early rounds because we used to have a tournament like this in Indianapolis. In Indiana, where I'm from. It was a little higher. It might have been like a 500 or 1,000 because I saw Sampras there and Roddick. But it was the same concept where you would go to the other matches and literally sit within earshot. They can hear you talking whatever it is, talking about the rest of your day or munching on your food.
Yeah, this is pretty typical of a 250 or 500 tournament, right? Where like the main court. So the way that Matt and I got tickets, we did the silent. I did the silent.
You
auction.
did it. I didn't do anything.
Yeah, I did the Smash Cancer silent auction. Shout out to that tournament. Fantastic tournament. Good cause. Obviously, we support that and like that. I think I was the only bidder. I got a great price. I think I got them actually for less than face value, which was cool, but also feel a little guilty. Like you don't really want to get a great, like that good of a deal at a charity silent auction for a good cause. Like you want to get an adequate deal. I got a very good deal though. That was nice.
They were given the tickets, I'm sure, for free. So anything that you got, let's just profit for them. So you should not feel bad. You should not. I don't want you to feel bad.
Next year, I want people bidding each other up at that though. Okay. Because we can raise more money next year if we do that. And anyway, got a good deal. There's a morning session or a day session, evening session. Starts at 1 p.m. Evening session I think starts at 6.
5 or 6.
5:30 or 6. Yeah. And so there's 4 courts where they're playing. They've got a half dozen practice courts, and the only one that has assigned seating is the center court. And there's plenty of good matches on courts 2, 3. I actually found the matches on courts 2, 3, and 4 to be a generally higher quality. Like the names weren't as big, but we got some really even stuff. Matt, was there one court in particular that you just thought was like a great seat?
Yes, I'm gonna forget their name. What is it? Tien and
court 2.
Oh boy,
court 2 there.
Mars.
I believe the names of the players were Lerner Tien, who's a young American player, lefty like Matt and some of our listeners. Shout out to Lefty Mark. Shout out to Parv. And then Fabian Marozsin, who is one of the top Hungarian players. He's 24. We looked this up. He looked like he was about 16.
I think that's bullshit. He looked like he just got his learner's permit yesterday.
I've heard of wannabe pro athletes deflating their age so they seem better than they are. I've never heard of one inflating their age, but we think that Morosian's a candidate for that.
I think he is. Yeah, the guy he had no facial hair, not even like when you're like 15 and you can grow a really bad. He didn't even have that.
He had just like a little bit of like not a good skin, but like a little bit of like light adult acne, and it was the kind where it's like, oh, a razor's never been over that bump.
Yeah, yeah.
Like he definitely looked super young. That was a great match, but also that's a great court. There's literally only 3 rows of seats. They're all on one side. You are so close, and it's incredible to see exactly how good these guys are from that close. Because the difference between somebody ranked 110 in the world and 10 is so much smaller than the difference between a 3-5 and 4-0.
Yeah. It's
like when you're watching it is incredibly humbling. I really enjoyed getting that close.
Yeah, that was a great match. The Tien was fun. He had a fun lefty spin like I do, so that was very fun. Definitely a grinder. Lots of great points. I was surprised. I was talking with Zach. I don't watch pro tennis. These guys, and a lot of the guys I see at this level when I've gone last year, they hit the ball really flat, which is much different. When I used to watch, I watched Federer, Nadal, Roddick air, like that kind of air where Roddick was good. So that's my baseline. So I'm used to seeing more loopy balls, and so it was very flat.
One thing I'll throw out there is those courts seem like they were playing pretty fast. I know that Alcaraz in Cincinnati this year was complaining about the pace of the hard courts, so I don't know if that's a trend. This is one we'll have to get Max to fact check us about whether hard courts are getting faster or slower.
Yeah.
There famously were all these rumors when Nadal was coming up that they were intentionally slowing down the surfaces, specifically at a place like Wimbledon, because they wanted, if Nadal performs well, ticket prices go up.
Yeah,
they make more money, and so they wanted to put their thumb on the scale. So they say to give Nadal a little boost there. Do you believe that rumor, Matt?
I don't know enough. Would the All England club stoop to that level? I don't know. I don't think they would. I think they're pretty stubborn.
Have the British ever done anything historically to put their thumb on the scales for something?
No, they've been perfect. I can't think of anything in history that would give me pause to think that the British would do something nefarious. So you're right, Zach. There's nothing in history that would tell us that.
I think that humans, when they are financially incentivized to do something, will often do the thing that they benefit from financially, and it sure seems like they would have benefited from doing the thing that was rumored to have been done. Nadal flames out in the second round. Are the fans happy? No. Do you make more money? No. Wouldn't it be better if he didn't?
I definitely see that with Indiana games, and I think there are, with different tournaments and different things, even though Indiana has sucked the last 20 years, we watch no matter what. So we shouldn't have been on ESPN over the last 20 years, other than maybe 2 or 3 years, but we're always on ESPN. We're always getting there. And it's because obviously the market and things like that. So I could see something like that, yeah.
But you're right. The way the modern game, like, it's so different than when we were kids. They used to just stand on the baseline and just bash away at it. Sampras obviously was an exception to the tail end of the serve and volley era.
Yeah.
But Roddick, especially American tennis, it was like, you're going to hit a big flat serve, you're going to hit a kick serve, you're going to have a massive forehand, and you're going to try and hide your backhand, and that was it. Now, Roddick had a lot of his success when he started coming in more, but the modern game, it's so versatile, it's so varied, like, it's just fun. And you're right, like, they keep it low and fast. The slide marks on the courts were the thing that stuck with me the most from that. Did you notice those at all?
Oh yeah, it was crazy. Even with their approach shot, everything, those slices just barely coming over the net, and then the guy would still hit a top spin, come off it up on top spin. It would just barely clear the net, and they were hitting drop shots and coming in. You're right, Zach. I was surprised that it was not just bang at the baseline. They were coming in, hitting droppers. It was solid.
Yeah, it just. One of the things we were talking about while we were there is we were sitting in the literal front row, directly behind Fabian Morosian, and he, I think, is like the 45th best player in the world right now, somewhere between the 40s and the 60s. Do you know how much money it would cost to sit 6 feet away from the 45th best soccer player in the world for anything? 45th best basketball player in the world.
That'd be really expensive.
45th best football player. There's almost no other sport to speak of where you can be that close to the action with players at that level. It's such a great deal.
Can't think of it. Yeah, even like I compared to the basketball, college basketball tickets. Try to get a ticket for Duke, UNC, Indiana. probably quadruple whatever we paid, and the seats won't be as good.
Yeah. Their courts were
Oh, yeah.
pristine. The ball kids were getting the hang of it. It was endearing, but I think that it seemed to be a volunteer operation on the ball kid front.
Yeah, as it usually is.
I know. Last year there was a moment where a player complained about a ball kid dropping the ball and all that. And look, I get that there's a lot on the line, but come on, it's a 250. If you don't want a volunteer ball kid, all right, get better at tennis, play the Masters only. All right, fine.
There's never an excuse to get mad at a ball kid. They are kids. You can yell at the refs, you can yell at the fans, but there's no reason to yell at the kids. I don't think there's ever an excuse.
If a ball kid dropped a ball in the middle of a point on a big point, and you're playing for money, you're playing for ranking, you're playing for maybe for your nation, depending on where you're from, and you have an advantage, and then you lose that advantage because the ball kid drops the ball, do you say something?
No. Now, you don't say anything to the kid. You might, if you could say something to the ref, be like, hey, if this happens again, maybe switch him out. But I'm not getting in the kid's face. I'm not yelling at him. I might calmly say something to the ref. If it happens more than once, everyone makes a mistake. Yeah. If they do it like 2 or 3 times, then I'm talking to the ref and being like, hey, this is the second or third time this has happened. Maybe they sit this one out. I think that's reasonable.
I so want to say, yes, like that, like what you just said is correct. That's the correct approach. I so want to say that I would be able to do that in that moment, but I know how much I care about rec league 4-0 and 4-5 matches and combo matches, and so I don't know that I could execute on that if that happened. But also, yes, that's what we want to see.
It's perfectly fine to lose it at the ref. Or whoever, the fan or something. Like if a fan yells, you can say "fuck you." Like no problem. They're adults. That's fine.
I actually would like to see a little bit more of that in tennis. In fact.
I love it. I love some interaction.
That is the one broad complaint I have about these tournaments. Is it is very quiet. That's like the unspoken but also written rule.
No, it's the written. If you can't talk, they'll kick you out.
Which I get, but it's not accessible for non-tennis fans because you and me, we're sitting there, we're dialed in. We're watching a match between points. Hey, how about that point? That was great.
Yeah.
But if you were a passive tennis fan, that sucks. There's no other sport where you just sit silently and look on for that. Yeah, golf. I'm that's more of a hobby than a sport.
Yeah.
But yeah, more of an activity.
Yeah, no, but golf. But yeah, I don't know of any. You're right. There's no other sports where you're supposed to be silent, and I wish I could yell because, we were talking about, it's such a huge advantage for at least a college basketball team, playing at home. Your Duke, UNC, IU, Indiana over the years has sucked. But we have taken down UNC multiple times when they were ranked number 1, and then we'll go lose to some mid-major on the road. It is such a huge advantage having the crowd supporting you, and I know the fans would love it. I just think go ahead.
Do you know how they are gradually phasing out dipping tobacco in professional baseball?
No, I didn't know that, but that sounds like a good idea.
It's related to this, right? So they started in the minors, they banned dipping during games, and in the majors they banned dipping on camera. And so they start at the low levels, and basically players are going to age out of doing it, and there'll be some old guys that keep doing it for another decade or so. But after a certain point, it's really going to have made a difference, and in theory been minimized.
Yeah.
I look at a tournament like this, and I think if they let there be cheering and more crowd interaction on the futures level, the lowest level of tournaments first, then they were a couple years later to add them to the challengers level, then the 250s, then maybe the 500s, then maybe a couple of the Masters. Because look, some of the majors already are rowdy. The U.S. Open is famous for the crowds, the heavy involvement. The Australian Open, Australians, they're having a good time. It's a fun country, right? It's known for having a bit of a party culture. And you, especially the late night matches, you hear it, you feel it, and it's great as a spectator. And I think it's good for the players for the most part.
Yeah, who doesn't get riled up? But an even better baseball analogy, I shouldn't say even better. Another baseball analogy is they do the pitch clock in the minor leagues.
Yeah.
And so that gets the games going faster. So if you're at the Bulls game, it goes a lot faster. So that experimentation at the lower levels it works really well in baseball. We've given you 2 examples of it. I think that's a great idea.
By the way, the pitch clock thing, it's revolutionized watching minor league baseball. I don't watch the majors, but Bulls games are a vastly superior experience now because you're out there at a reasonable hour. Most of the time, Sarah and I are going for the fireworks as much as the baseball.
Yeah, we're not. We go for bark in the park. We get the dogs a hot dog. I get my beer. I might watch like a little bit, or we're walking around, walking the dogs around, saying hi. Yeah, we're not
So,
really
like,
watching. Yeah.
Bark in the Park, really fun thing. We've brought Petunia, the
Yeah.
bulldog. You literally cannot do a Bark in the Park at a tennis tournament because it would be too loud. It would
Oh,
be
yeah,
too,
yeah.
like too
There's
fun.
no
People would
way.
be
Yeah.
audibly having too much fun for the players.
Yeah.
And I guess the argument is like they need to concentrate or the sound of the ball impacts them. But you
No.
know what? Do you want to make more money?
Yeah.
Do you want tennis to grow as a game? All right, then let
Yeah.
people fucking cheer a little bit.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah. It's fine. You'll see the miss hit. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. You'll see the miss hit. It'll come off. And it's the same for the other guy. It's not like you're getting
Yeah.
it's not like the other guy's gonna, or the other gal's gonna have the crowd too. Or you just get the fans on your side.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like another part of the game is get them to like you.
So there were 4 different courts where matches were being played in Winston. Of those 4 courts, where do you think you had the best vantage point?
Oh, it's the ones on the side, pretty much anywhere but center court, which center court isn't bad. It's not like that's a bad seat, but anywhere where I can get within arm's length of the player is great. Actually, let me go back to the being quiet real quick because I don't think you noticed this, but we got some food and we were eating it while they were playing, and I was crunching on some fries or something, and they were a little crunchy. And I remember we were right behind the players' coach's box, and the guy was getting ready to serve. And I remember the players' coach looking back at me like, "What the fuck you doing?"
This is an
like,
audio-only podcast, but that was not a friendly look back that Matt just
No,
did.
it wasn't. And I'm just crunching on my fries and like, "Oh, sorry." Just crunching on fries.
Man, in baseball, sorry, a lot of baseball metaphors today. The managers and the coaches suit up. In tennis, that's the closest sport to having the managers suit up because they're all like a lot of them are spending time in the practice court before or after matches. And so like those guys all were dripped out in the latest Adidas, looking fresh. That's a good uniform to wear to work. Is it like a nice pair of Adidas?
Yeah. I think tennis clothes are comfy. Like I wouldn't wear a baseball outfit other than a baseball diamond. Like the
it would be
outfits
extremely funny to see somebody play tennis in a baseball outfit.
That'd be terrible. That'd be so hot. Oh my gosh.
Would you have the socks up or socks down?
I think I used to have the socks up. They just wouldn't. I couldn't get them
yeah.
to stay. I think you needed a contraption to get them to stay.
Gotta be socks up. Gotta be. You can roll your pants into the top of the socks, and you get the weird knee area bulge, which looks so dumb, but that's what I did.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. So your favorite court were the side courts. I will specifically single out courts 2 and 3 of the side courts. Court 3 is the one that I believe you can get the closest and where they have the fewest seats. Yeah. Court 2 is it's like directly in the sun unless you buy the fancy tickets like the sponsors get. We're not working with that kind of budget yet. Next year when they give us a press pass, hey, stick us over there. Let's see how it goes. Court 4 was an incredible spot because you got to also watch practice matches behind the match, which was pretty fun, practice sessions. So I very much like that. This was a new feature this year. They had a little mini bar area by the practice court. Yeah, I think I probably had the most fun watching the players practice out of all of it. Just because like the way they practice does not look like we practice at all. And I think you can learn something from that, but also there's nothing to learn from that because they're working with a different amount of time, different budget, different athleticism, different bodies, like all that stuff. But it was really cool watching
that area is shaded and it's right next to the bar, and then you can talk. So you can like watch them play tennis, talk like you would at a normal sporting event. Like you can have a conversation, watch some tennis, have a drink in the shade. So yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yep. It also, so Sarah, I brought Sarah with me on Sunday, Matt, before you and I went on Tuesday. And I got to tell you, it was great both days. It's nice if for folks that are thinking about going next year that didn't go this year, would highly recommend breaking it up, doing one match the weekend before the main draw kicks off, because it's really not very crowded there. Like you watch all the top players practice, and you can watch like the qualifiers matches, the lower level matches. Really fun, very low key. Yeah. Once you get to that first Tuesday, that's when the intensity starts to ratchet up. The crowd starts to increase in size. And so I think it was really cool to experience the different days.
I don't think there was, if you wanted to get a great seat, you could get it. I don't think that's going to be an issue. Maybe on the weekend. So I would also recommend going the earlier days, like you either said, the
Yeah.
before or the first round or two, it's not worth. I don't know. I don't think it's worth going to the finals or trying to just catch a couple of matches. That's the fun about these tournaments is you want to go watch a bunch of matches. Especially Zach came and you had injured your Achilles, or what'd you injure?
I don't know. So I'm on the shelf right now. We're both
Yeah.
Matt and I are out. It is my ankle and my Achilles, and it's different hurt in different places, and it hurts in different ways. And
Yeah.
I have a doctor's appointment scheduled 29 days from
Probably.
today, and
29 days. That's too long.
It sucks. It sucks.
Hang
you
on.
know?
What kind of doctor are you going to?
I'm going to my doctor.
Oh, you're like regular?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the fastest they can get you in?
Yeah, man.
Right.
It's
Do we have
I
any
don't know if you know
doctors?
this. It's hard. Like, it's hard out there for doctors.
Not if you know a doctor that plays tennis.
Relatedly, huge shout out to longtime listener of the pod, Lefty Mark, who is hopefully going to get me in with the doctor a little sooner through some contacts that he's got. Yeah,
exactly. Let's go ahead and work these contacts. There's got to be a way you
Yeah.
can get into a doctor before.
Are you a doctor?
60 days.
Do you want to do a Frankenstein? If you fix my ankle, I'll let you do whatever. Like, you can pump me full of steroids. You can artificially make me taller, preferably not shorter. Like, whatever. Go nuts.
Yeah.
I will be your Frankenstein if you can fix my ankle and get me in sooner, doctor listeners.
Yeah.
But yes, it also, if you just know somebody that can see me sooner, that'd be really cool because my ankle hurts and I want it to not hurt.
Yeah. Okay. We need to do that because that's too long, man. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I was
forget
moving
where
really
we're
good
going
though,
with that.
right?
Oh, but the thing is, even with Zach's broken, injured ankle or foot, we didn't stay for more than 5 games. Besides we stayed for the last set, but every 5 games, this guy's can barely walk, and he's like, we got to go. We got to go watch something else. And you can do that. You can rotate. And,
it turns out my AD is stronger, or is like my ADD tolerance is lower than my pain tolerance, which is not very high. Yeah. But that, for me, that's why
you can do that. It's fun.
Yeah, if you're going to the semis or the finals, you cannot do that. Like,
Can't do that. Nope.
You can go watch like a doubles match, which is fun, but you're really typically there for singles. I would say if you're bringing a partner or a friend who's a kind of passive tennis observer, the finals and semis work for that because it's just contained. For Matt and I, we consumed just an outrageous amount of tennis. We probably watched 7 or 8 different matches for various parts.
Yeah. We weren't there all day. Maybe we were there for 4 hours.
Yeah, we watched a couple different practice sessions. We saw Adrian Manarino practice, former winner of the Winston-Salem Open, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think watching him practice, Matt?
Yeah, his game was very odd, like you were pointing out. It's very compact. I loved his story of just having everything injured and just completely changing his game because it's possible.
It is a pretty, for a rec league player who's got a variety of ongoing nagging injuries. Yeah, he figured it out.
I can do it.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. Hey, I think we've had a lot of positive things to say about the Winston-Salem Open. I think we have many more to say. One thing that I thought was not a strong spot, and I want your take on this, the food.
Yeah.
What do we think?
Yeah, there's not much there. It's your standard burgers and fries. They were fine, but there wasn't. They had one food truck, but it does get a little crowded. It seems like they could add a few more food trucks. I'm sure they're out there in Winston-Salem.
Yeah.
Seems like a missed opportunity, really.
That's very much my hope, is that they... because also, look, the burgers and fries, if you're at a sporting event for a couple hours, like, that'll get it done. But for the Winston Open, you could conceivably be there from 1 p.m. or 12 p.m., I think is when the gates open, until 10 at night.
Yeah.
You do not want to eat burgers and fries for lunch, and then again for dinner, and then like chicken tendies for dinner. Like, you need something with vegetables in it.
Yeah.
I will say their drink options are pretty solid. Like, they have your kind of standard stadium fare, and then they also had some North Carolina wine stuff. They have an Aperol Spritz tents. Arthur Fields was signing stuff over there, which is cool. What's going on?
The drinks are good.
Pretty reasonably priced too for a pro sporting event, I thought.
They weren't bad. It was standard, what I expected. But yeah, food's not great. I would suggest eating before if you can. That's probably the best approach.
I think
we were running low on time. Yeah.
Yeah, like last year when we went with Kevin Lloyd, shout out to Kevin.
Yeah.
We ate lunch or brunch somewhere in Winston, and that was the way to
That's
do
the
it.
way to do it. Yeah. If you can I would just eat before. So that's the way I would do it. And the weather was great. Last year it was so hot. We got lucky because we went during the whenever people hear this, like last week we had those 70s and it was just, we sweated a little bit, but the year before you were just drenched because it was so hot.
It was like we'd come off the courts from playing a long match.
Exactly.
By the end of the time. Yeah. And also, the sun just takes it out of you, and so that's something I think
Yeah,
everybody
you're
listening should
tired.
prepare for. It is a very you're going to get a lot of sun. There are not
Mhm.
really many shade areas unless
No.
again you have the fancy sponsor tickets, which is again a different budget than we're working with. The things, Matt, that kind of always catches me off guard is like how accessible the players are. Like after their
Yeah.
match, it's not like they even make it straight to the locker room. They'll be like 10 feet away from the court
Yeah.
messing around. So, and like when we were watching Lerner Tien play Fabian Marozhin, like Thiago Seaboth Wild, a Brazilian player who's gotten wins in majors, was like sitting next to us and his
was?
entourage. Yeah, they
I had
were
no
legit.
idea.
Yeah, they
Oh,
came
I
in,
remember when they came through. Yeah, he did have his
Yeah.
entourage. Yeah.
like whole crew. He's on the naughty list. I
Uh-oh.
won't get into specifics, but yeah, that guy.
Okay.
The not endorsed by the Triangle Tennis Podcast. Suffice to say.
Okay.
But
No, we
it was
didn't-
cool.
we
It was
didn't-
cool
we didn't-
nonetheless. We
didn't talk
next
to
pro
him.
tennis player.
Yeah,
No, we
yeah,
didn't.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
not even. I did nod at him because at the end of the day, it's a pro tennis player, and what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Nod? Be like, oh, pro
I
tennis
didn't
player.
nod.
Good. Thank you
I
for
didn't really
holding
know
the
who he
line
was.
for us.
Yeah.
When you Google Thiago Seaboth Wild, it is. It's bad. It's wild.
bad?
It's bad. It's bad. It's bad.
No.
That's the thing, by the
Okay.
way, that I am like perpetually frustrated by, not by pro tennis broad, but by the ATP specifically. There are some
Mm.
guys on the tour, Alexander Zverev being an example of one, who have been credibly accused of some pretty bad stuff, and
Yeah.
they just sweep it under the rug. There's no
Mhm.
meaningful consequences. Like the tennis governing bodies have got to figure it out. Like it's not enough to just be good at hitting the ball. There has to be a
Mhm.
little bit of, are you a good representative of the
Yeah.
game?
You have to just be hitting tennis balls and not other things.
Yes,
Kind of that seems like a fair standard.
It's like the lowest possible friggin' bar, and they just don't
Yeah.
seem to want to clear it.
Yeah.
What can you do?
Ugh,
What can you do?
I don't
Hopefully
know.
better.
Yeah.
Anyway, were there any deals at the tournament that we should share with folks that jumped out at you?
No, don't buy shit at tournaments. It's a terrible idea. It's a waste of money. Don't do it. Never buy merch at tournaments. That's my stance.
What non-tennis match play entertainment did they have at this tournament?
The big rackets were fun to take pictures with.
They were. I think that's going to be
Yeah.
the title card for this episode.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's Daniel. Yeah.
They have gigantic tennis rackets. They're strung too, and we were
Yeah.
debating what they're strung with, whether they were just like high gauge
Yeah.
strings or something. And I think I don't,
I think it
you
was
know,
just
we didn't
string. I think it was just string.
yeah, it's
They were fun.
Max can fact check us. Hopefully, he can get to the
Yeah,
bottom of
yeah.
this.
Giant tennis rackets. You take. There was a person dressed up in a tennis ball. That
Yep.
was fun. And then there was a parking lot attendant who was dancing, and that was very fun and entertaining.
That was fun.
Just
That was
jamming
fun.
out. Yeah.
I think going back to the practice courts, like yes, that they are practicing tennis, but it was entertaining in a different way because like there was a Russian player practicing with a French player. Both them and their coaches seemed to enjoy soccer in addition to tennis. And so after they got done with their session, they played this game that involved a soccer ball and essentially were playing mini tennis with soccer rules with a soccer
Oh,
ball. That was
okay.
really fun to watch.
That's pretty fun.
Fun fact, one of those coaches was Yunus El Anawi, the Rockin' Moroccan, one of my favorite players from my childhood, who set the world on fire at both the U.S. Open and Australian Open and has just incredible tennis story. If you want to do a Wikipedia deep dive on him, it's worth it. Just like, it was awesome. And oh God, the old highlights of his matches, he just knew how to work the crowd in a sport where nobody does shit with the crowd.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Yeah. Cool. I'll have to check him out later. Yeah, I remember you pointing him out. He was one of the coaches for one of the players.
Easy to spot because he's 6'4", and he on top of that has like big hair that
He has
goes
big
up.
hair,
So
yeah.
it's like really more like a 6'7" if you go
Yeah.
from the top of his hairline situation.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, let's get into plugs. What do you want to
All
plug?
right. I'm going to plug Frosty Doubles. So this is a Enocta league that they promote. So they start. I have two. Enocta has two winter leagues. They have Frosty Doubles, which takes place from around Halloween, a little before, right up till Christmas, and then they have Frozen Assets, which takes place after the holidays, close up to spring season. Frosty Doubles is combo. So I put out a spreadsheet in the chat, and I'll just remind people probably once a week for the next couple weeks. Fill it in if you want to play, if you want to captain, grab players off the list, call your friends, put together teams. Just let's get signed up because it's nice. They don't always offer the higher levels, particularly 8-5 combo. So if no one signs up, then they'll stop doing this. This is very nice because for those of you who like to schedule and play tennis, you know how hard it is to get 4 guys on a court together.
Oh,
This
yeah.
makes it a lot easier. Anocta gets more money. If they get more money, they can advocate for us.
I don't know about you. I also find it much easier to justify making time for a league match than just a recreational match.
Yeah.
If I commit to a league match and I'm not injured, I'm going to show up and it's
Yeah.
going to happen, period. Whereas you get 4 guys or 4 people on a court or make plans to play, stuff comes up. Oh, kid's sick.
Yeah.
Car's got a flat tire. Just doesn't say yes to league matches, people. That's a great plug, Matt. And health permitting, I will certainly be playing. Health permitting, will you be playing?
I don't give a shit. I'm playing no matter what. I'm going to play right-handed. It's going to happen. And because it's not a USTA league, so I am just going to play 8-5, right or left-handed. My guess is I'm going to be transitioning during that league. So
I love it. it. I want to plug taking your tennis group chat, taking your tennis friend group off the court and doing stuff that isn't just playing tennis. This year, I am proud to announce that the Easton boys are doing our first tennis group fantasy football league. No idea what's going to happen. I'm obviously going to predict this. I think I'm going to win the league. I've had a great draft. Dr. Sarah Cunningham helped me select a few.
Oh, nice.
Slipped a Georgia guy or 2 under the team just to score some good husband points. And feeling very confident. But also, I just think, look, tennis is great. It's healthy. It's a wonderful sport. But it's not just about the tennis. It's about community and doing fun stuff. And finding a little bit of balance. And so I'm really excited for that league. I think it's really cool that John Pura put that together and that some other folks did it. And I just would encourage anybody who's listening that's thinking, hey, I'd like to do something off the court with my tennis buds, go do it. It's great. I also would be remiss, Matt, and can this be a joint plug for us? What we're about to do next? Winston-Salem Open.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you should go. Yeah.
Do we endorse?
Yeah, it's a great time. No, it really is a fun turn. I'm not a big ATP guy. I don't watch it on TV. But I actually, unless someone gave me tickets to the U.S. Open, I probably wouldn't go. But these little tournaments are so much fun.
I don't think I'd go. What? Okay, help me understand this. Did that tournament not make you think, oh yeah, I could watch this a little more?
No, I had just enough tennis. It was the perfect amount. I got to see 4 hours. I got to see him live up close. I didn't have to drive very far. It wasn't crowded.
We got to talk about this. Why? So you were a really good tennis player. It's unusual for a tennis player of your caliber to watch that little professional tennis. Why doesn't it do it for you? Talk to me. What's the deal?
I'd rather play. I don't, and I'm not connected to the players. It's not like my the only sport I only watch men's IU basketball, and that's it because I was there for 10, I forget how many years I was there. I have 3 degrees and I went there for 12 years and I'm just connected. And that's when you go into Assembly Hall, like you would go into Cameron Indoor, or I don't know what UNC is called, but what is it? Dean Dome? It's magical. There's something, everyone's on the same team. You have that effect as a fan being in there. I actually have an effect on the game. Whereas, and I just love it, but yeah, I don't really care about tennis.
So during work today, I work remotely, a lot of Zooms, a lot of phone calls. Between Zooms and phone calls, I got 2 monitors. On one, I got my email, spreadsheets, Google Doc, whatever PowerPoint, whatever I'm working on.
Sure.
And on the other, I like to have a little tennis in the background because the noise from a tennis tournament, it calms me.
Sure.
And I couldn't tell you how cool it was seeing guys that we were 10 feet away from playing on my TV today at the U.S. Open.
That's pretty cool.
Doesn't appeal to you?
No, I won't watch them. No, I won't. Maybe I watched a little last year because I was bored at night. So I don't know if there's nothing else to watch and one of the Americans makes it far. I might turn it on at the U.S. Open, but I watched maybe 3 matches last year and they were all U.S. people who made it really far. And that was it. And the U.S. Open, that was it.
I will say I love watching tennis, ATP and WTA. I feel like a thing that's been liberating as an adult is I have just now come to accept that I learn nothing watching ATP players play because, oh, a 6'7" guy does this in the court. Okay, like I can't do that. So what do I learn from that? Very little. And so now it is pure entertainment for me. I will say the one exception, I get worse at tennis every time I watch Carlos Alcaraz play because he'll hit all these drop shots and they look so easy and cool. I'm like, I should try that. And then for some reason I have a different outcome.
Yeah.
Weird how that works, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. And the same, whatever sport, I have no interest in football. I don't watch any other sports. I don't think I'd watch pickleball, even though I'm super into pickleball.
Okay, that one you're just objectively right on. But I have a soft spot for the psychos. I really struggle with my head as a junior. I still sometimes do as an adult. And I love watching Rublev because he's wound so tight. At any point in time, he might just lose his friggin' mind. And he doesn't want to. He's a professional. He knows it's a problem. And I love watching that sort of internal struggle play out while somebody's on the court, too, who's able to perform at such a high level. Like, I just find it captivating. I can't look away.
I'm good.
All right, I've made my best case to you, Matt, to watch tennis. The pros, I don't think it's going to happen.
No.
But you know what? I'm glad that we went to Winston. That was great.
Yeah, that was a great time. I highly recommend it. Yeah, it was very fun.
Let's run through a few of the results before we got out of here.
Sure.
Who, Matt, won the tournament?
Oh, you're going to make me pronounce names. Lorenzo Sonego? Is that? I don't know how to get his last name. We'll just go with Lorenzo. I feel like that's right. Is that right? Lorenzo S.
Player, yes.
Yeah.
He played well. We caught some of his.
He did?
He did. We did indeed.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't even know. I had no idea.
We did not catch this next guy, Alex Michelson. Promising young American. He was the runner-up. Had a really solid run. Certainly a player to keep an eye on. I don't know that he's going to be a major winner, but certainly he's going to be a top 30 player. And who knows? He might just be the next great American tennis player. In doubles, the winners were Dr. Matt.
Nathaniel Lamons? I'm not sure how he's going to pronounce that. Jackson Winthrow. Repeat champs, apparently. Congratulations. Good job.
Yes, indeed. Shout out to them. The runners-up, this is a weird one. I actually know one of them. So it's Rob Galloway and Julian Cash were the runners-up. Rob Galloway went to a high school that was in the same conference as me, was a year, I think, or two below me. Nice. And we never matched up, so I never played him. And that was a huge win for me because he just absolutely murked everybody on our team. He was a very good player as a young player, obviously, and is actually cousins with a buddy of mine. Cool to see Rob still doing it. I believe that he has played doubles at Wimbledon and had a pretty darn good run there, too. So, again, like the level of these guys is fantastic off the charts.
Yeah. Who's next? Oh, match of the tournament was Tien. How'd you get his last? What was his last name?
I think it's Morosian.
Morosian. That was a really fantastic match.
The SZ noise is little sh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Morosian. Yeah. That was a fantastic match. We actually watched the whole third set, and that was really good.
Learned Tien turns 19 years old in December, I believe.
Yeah.
He's young. And look, Morosian looks like a teenager, but Tien looked even younger, and I guess it makes sense because again, he's like a high school senior age person.
Yeah,
he was so impressive. He redlined in the first set because we caught some of the first, and he just I don't think we saw him miss. He might have had a hand hour, which for those of you that don't know is an hour without missing.
Yeah, it was really close. See, I very rarely saw if there was an error, it was a forced error. If he had one that first set, there were no unforced errors.
As a lefty, do you root harder for other lefties, or is it just I don't care?
Yeah, no, that one I was rooting for him because he was lefty. Yeah, I will actively root for lefties. Yeah.
Yeah. I think as a non-lefty, I don't want to say I root against lefty players, but I empathize with their opponents pretty consistently. Oh yeah, that sucks.
It's rough.
I've seen Matt Hanauer serve. That sucks. It sucks.
Yeah, he had a great slice serve. That was a really fun match.
Yeah. Who was the player for you that like, or was there a player for you? Obviously, I think that we agree. Lerner Tien again, 18 years old, had a nice little run. Player to watch. Was there anybody that you're just like, I like that guy's game. I liked watching that guy play.
I can't remember the one guy we watched practice. The guy you said that was injured. The guy with the tum, he was fun.
Oh yeah, I think it's Potov.
Hatov? Yeah.
Potov. Yeah, Russian
Yeah.
Russian guy, no flag because of the war in Ukraine. And so the ATP doesn't acknowledge the Russian players' origins, which I think feels woefully insufficient, but okay. And yeah, but that being said, he had a little tum-tum there.
Yeah, a little tum-tum. That was
I
fun.
saw him in the practice court and it was like, okay, yeah, man, I see you taking it seriously out there.
Yeah.
Staying warm in the winter with that thing. Good stuff.
Yeah.
I like to see a big boy on the courts as a fellow big boy.
Yeah, I was definitely rooting for him and his tum.
Do you remember Marcos Bagdatis?
I do remember that name, yeah.
So he was also not a huge guy or anything, but a little bit more weight than your average tennis player.
Yeah.
And you've got to remember, the mid-2000s, we talked about bodies a little differently then, especially old people, and the announcers were just like merciless. They would like debate in stones how much weight he needed to lose, whether it's 1 or 2 stones and stuff like that. And it just made me root for him harder.
Love it.
The opposite, by the way, of build has to be Chris Eubanks, who we saw play a little bit on center court. The guy who's 7, massive serve.
Yeah.
I don't know how he's able to generate power. His legs were so thin.
Yeah, he had no calves. Yeah, I was like, where are they?
He was awesome, though. He was fun. We posted some footage of him serving on the Triangle Tennis Podcast Instagram. Shout out to Director of Marketing Dave.
Yeah.
It appears to have blown up in Asia a little bit, so that's neat.
Oh, that's great to hear.
Yeah, thousands of views. We're finding an audience in the middle of the night.
Love it.
In Asia, which is great.
All right. Do we want to do? We've got 2 segments.
Let's do the from point A. Let's do point.
So,
all right, Matt. Before we get out of here, I think that we've got one thing to do.
We've got at least one thing to do. Point A to. So, I was just telling. We actually took a little break. We'll probably cut that. But I was telling Zach I have some wings in the oven. The Triangle Tennis Podcast and the East End Boys are very pro wings. So Zach, I want you to go from chicken wings to public clay courts in Durham.
Okay, that's great. I think it's known that the best chicken wings come from free-range chickens. It's important that they get to experience a happy and fulfilled life before we eat them, before we take their lives for our sustenance, right?
I agree.
You know what else is an essential part of a free-range setup? A little bit of grass, a little bit of greenery.
That's true.
What does it grow out of? Dirt.
It does. These are facts.
What kind of ground stuff are the Carolinas famous for? Specifically, the Piedmont and Central North Carolina area. That's right, it's clay. We are literally sitting on an abundance of clay. We have more clay in North Carolina than we know what to do with. And I sure would like to see us turn some of it into public clay courts.
Wow. That was pretty good.
That one might be a stretch. But yeah, man, look, we literally have a ton of clay.
Yeah.
And guess what? Hey, if we don't have the right kind of clay, we'll go on up to Virginia. You know why every house there is made out of brick? They got a bunch of red clay too. Also, I don't know if I mentioned, in Winston-Salem, they have public clay courts. We saw a friend of the pod, Sean Berman, while we were there. Shout out to Sean Berman.
Yes.
And he's tearing up the scene there, by the way. We got to do a little triad triangle competition at some point against Sean and the fellas there. But yeah, he made sure to remind us that Winston-Salem has absolutely figured out how to get and maintain public clay courts, just like Wilmington, just like Greensboro, just like Asheville, just like Denver, just like many other cities around this country. And I just can't sit by and accept we got other stuff to do. Yeah, I know, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. It's not unreasonable to expect your local government to do a public good or two. In fact, we got a great local government. They do all kinds of good stuff, right?
Yeah.
School board, they got to figure some things out. But the local government beyond that is very good. And I think that we should trust in our elected officials and we should advocate for public clay courts if those are things that we want, which I very much do.
As well as fixing up East End, because that's a train wreck right now.
It's not great. It's not great.
Yeah. So that would be good.
It is frustrating. I've played it in a couple Cary leagues now. I haven't done a Raleigh league, but I have some friends in Raleigh and get out there for tennis every now and then. The kind of median quality of public courts, there's a lot of variability by city, and Durham's kind of the lowest in the totem pole. And that's really frustrating because there's a great scene. There's so many great players, but you don't see a lot of guys from Cary and Raleigh that want to play in Durham leagues because oftentimes the court quality.
Yeah. I've I have yet to see. Maybe they're out there in Cary. I have yet to play on a shitty court in Cary.
Oh yeah, they don't. We've talked about this. I think they have some financial advantages. I think like Raleigh maybe is a better comp. Although yeah,
I haven't seen I'm sure they exist in Raleigh. The ones I've played on, Millbrook is beautiful. Yeah. That's what a great tennis facility.
Yeah, and I think, look, at the end of the day, if we don't trust the kind of municipal governments to sort this out, we just need one of our many eccentric billionaire listeners to donate a couple $100 million to a nonprofit that builds public clay courts in the Triangle broadly. That would also solve the problem, and I'd be fine with that.
Easy solve.
There we go.
Not an issue. Do you want to do Player of the Week, or
Let's do Player of the Week. Let's do it.
Okay.
Take it away.
Okay, so we are going to, from time to time, highlight a player who's been playing very well. We wanted to highlight Parv for our first. Zach looked up some stats on him. So on the season.
Shout out to Parv Mittal.
I've got 46-10 on the season. Is that the spring season?
That is the year.
Or sorry, the year. Yeah, that is impressive. Wow. 46-10 on the season. Part of the most dominant 7-5 combo tandem in triangle tennis history.
Modern triangle tennis history.
Modern. Oh, yeah. Okay. I didn't know we went
lefty Mark, sure shot, sure. And Parv, it's out. Parv's not a 4-0. Mark's not and they're both lefties. And they also Mark just mashes the ball at the net, and Parv just has the craziest angles.
Yeah.
And, that is about as close to a lock as you can get at 7-5 as there is in the triangle right now.
Yeah, for sure.
The only duo that I think could give them, at least in Durham, a run would be the Stuart Bible Ben Redmond pairing.
Yeah, that would be a good match. I would like to see that match. We should schedule that. That could be maybe a trial where we're allowed to yell and scream the entire time, and we can see how it goes.
I just want both teams to have fun. I love everybody involved.
Yeah.
But that would be a really fun match.
Yeah. I do want to note also that Parv is also undefeated in pickleball.
Oh,
that is an important stat.
Undefeated in pickle. He's a multi-sport athlete, folks.
He is.
I think I put in the notes here that he's the bump block of the century. I think that's... Yeah. He's 46-10 on the year. Parv's got to get bumped.
He's going to get bumped. Yeah.
Not only that, if you include his Parv burst on the scene last year, he went 8-0 last year too. So he's 54-10 in USTA matches.
Wow.
That's a comically good record. And I think part of it is, yes, he's a very good player, but he also has a really great attitude on the court. You don't see Parv getting down on himself very often. No. He's fun between points, but dialed in during every point, and just an all-around joy to be on a court with. So
he really enjoys watching me get upset at myself, which gives me joy because it's pretty fun. He loves seeing me get mad, and it's a great time.
It's the ultimate tennis compliment when your opponent melts down because you evoked a reaction, right?
Yeah. Oh.
Shout out to Parv. Shout out to the Winston-Salem Open. Matt, thank you for continuing to do this crazy, ridiculous podcast. It's a real highlight of my week every week, and I hope that it is for all the folks listening at home.
Yep. Looking forward to the next one.
All right. That's another episode of the Triangle Tennis Podcast. Catch y'all later.